Italy's most wanted mafia boss, Sicilian Matteo Messina Denaro, has been arrested in Palermo, Sicily. The 60-year-old had been on the run for 30 years.
The Italian Mafia is infamous for its ruthless crimes, shocking heists, and chilling encounters. But when their activities are caught on camera, the true extent of their boldness is revealed. From explosive ATM heists to dramatic police standoffs and daring smash-and-grab robberies, these moments feel straight out of a movie. In this list of the 30 most disturbing Italian mafia encounters caught on camera, you'll witness the terrifying reality of their operations and the fearless efforts to bring them down. Number 1. Massimo Carminati's arrest. Massimo Carminati was once a mysterious figure tied to the Mafia Capitale scandal. He was seen as a secret power, weaving complex deals between politicians and business leaders. Law officers kept him under watch for a long time, following hidden clues and phone records. When they finally caught him near Rome, it felt like a big moment for authorities. The arrest exposed a massive network of corruption, leaving people shocked that such influence had gone unnoticed for so long. Many saw it differently. Number 2. ATM heist in Valverde, Sicily. Valverde, Sicily faced a wild scene late one night. A group of thieves used a stolen digger to tear an ATM from the bank's wall. Sparks flew, bricks crumbled, and onlookers gasped at the sudden mayhem. With the machine in their van, the robbers sped off into the darkness. Police arrived moments later to find only wreckage and a gaping hole. This bold heist shocked locals, proving how truly creative some criminals can be in chasing rich rewards. Number 3. Failed ATM robbery in Ameno. During a quiet night in Ameno, a group of clumsy lawbreakers tried to pry open a street ATM. They tapped and rattled the metal, unaware a nearby bystander was filming their every move. Sparks flew, but the machine refused to give in. Onlookers began to gather at a safe distance, sparking fear among the thieves. Realizing they were exposed, they panicked and fled. The bank's camera confirmed the failed heist, leaving the device battered but still mostly intact. Number 4. Palermo post office robbery. Palermo's midday calm shattered when 3 masked thieves stormed a neighborhood post office. Security cameras filmed them vaulting counters and grabbing money from drawers as frightened employees ducked out of sight. Alarms blared, sending police cars racing through busy streets. In a surprise twist, officers surrounded the building before the robbers could flee. Cornered and outnumbered, they dropped the stolen cash. Onlookers watched in relief, grateful that swift action prevented a far worse outcome. Their arrests soon followed. Number 5. Matteo Messina Denaro's capture. Matteo Messina Denaro was a feared mafia boss who evaded capture for 30 long years. Agents studied every clue, following rumors and forged documents until they found him visiting a clinic under a false name. Cameras showed him entering with a hood pulled low, hoping nobody would spot him. Then officers appeared, cutting off his exit. His arrest jolted Sicilians who believed he might never be found. This ended a major chapter of secretive crime and hidden terror. Number 6. Catania shopping mall chaos. Shoppers in Catania were startled by a wild robbery at a local mall late one evening. Footage showed a stolen car crashing through the glass doors, sending debris across the polished floors. The thieves raced down hallways, smashing display cases to grab high-end gadgets. Panicked security guards tried to lock down the exits, but the robbers managed to slip away. Police arrived to find the entrance destroyed and chaos everywhere. Everyone wondered how criminals managed it so quickly. Number 7. Torino ATM explosions. Torino became a late-night battleground as daring thieves rigged ATMs with small explosives. Passers-by heard sudden blasts, followed by smoke and sparks lighting up vacant sidewalks. Surrounded by shattered glass, the robbers snatched money cartridges in seconds and sped off. Footage from store cameras showed their swift, practiced approach. Citizens woke to swirling rumors about rising attacks targeting banks citywide. Investigators carefully combed the scene for clues, hoping to piece together the criminals' exact identities and future plans. Number 8. Gas station robbery gone wrong. Late one night, a battered van crashed into a small gas station near the highway. Security footage showed sparks flying as the criminals tried to pry open the cash register. Their vehicle's door jammed, and they struggled to fit the stolen safe through the opening. Meanwhile, a passing patrol car spotted the commotion. The robbers panicked, leaving behind scattered tools before speeding away with nothing. Local residents watched in utter fear, left shaken by this chaotic failed heist. Number 9. Settimo Mineo's arrest. Settimo Mineo, once known as a humble jeweler, was a secret figure leading a revived Cosa Nostra council in Palermo. Investigators used hidden microphones to uncover his involvement in widespread extortion. Early in the morning, police caught him leaving his workshop, placing him under arrest without a fight. News spread swiftly, shocking both neighbors and longtime customers who had never suspected wrongdoing. This decisive capture demonstrated the painstaking work authorities put into unmasking powerful underworld players in Sicily. Number 10. Torre del Greco villa burglaries. Torre del Greco was shaken by a series of nighttime villa burglaries. Masked thieves slipped through gardens and picked sturdy locks, fleeing with jewelry and cash. Neighbors whispered fearful stories, worried about who might be next. Footage from security cameras revealed shadowy figures hopping fences under moonlight. Police patrols stepped up, combing the streets in search of clues. Many residents installed stronger lights and alarms, hoping to prevent further attacks on their peaceful homes. These crimes unsettled everyone. Number 11. Modica perfume shop smash and grab. An early morning hush settled over Modica's cozy streets until a stolen car crashed into a popular perfume shop. Bits of shattered glass rained down, setting off a screaming alarm. Thieves in dark hoodies raced inside, sweeping prized fragrances into large bags. Neighbors peered from windows, startled by the sudden chaos. When police arrived, the robbers were long gone, leaving the shop's counters empty and broken. Later that day, outraged customers voiced their dismay. Authorities vowed a crackdown. Number 12. Sororo jewelry store robbery. Sororo's quiet morning turned upside down when masked thieves stormed the local jewelry store. Display cases rattled under crowbars as glittering rings and necklaces vanished. Shocked customers froze, hands covering mouths, while alarms shrieked wildly. Police cars rushed to the scene, but the criminals had already driven off in a stolen sedan. Later that day, a security camera video captured the moment of chaos, sending waves of worry through the town. Everyone wondered who might be next. Number 13. Matera jewelry heist. Matera's old stone streets fell hushed the night masked thieves broke into a classy jewelry shop. They swiftly smashed the glass cases, grabbing handfuls of shimmering diamonds. Stunned passers-by heard alarm bells echoing through narrow alleys. Police rushed in, only to discover the robbers had slipped away under shadows. Later, security footage revealed their carefully planned entry and exit. Merchants fearfully locked up early in the following days, worried about more daring strikes that might soon quickly follow. Number 14. Mario Rio's arrest. Mario Rio was rumored to be untouchable, running illegal gambling dens across the city. Investigators spent months gathering testimonies and recording calls, hoping to pin him down. One afternoon, they traced his steps to a hidden warehouse, catching him in the act. Images of handcuffed Rio circulated, shocking neighbors who saw him as a generous figure. His capture ended a long trail of shady dealings, bringing new tides to their once peaceful streets. Everyone hoped justice would follow. Number 15. Naples robbery gang capture. Naples was rocked by a wave of bold robberies, each more daring than the last. A local gang stole cash from street vendors and small shops, striking fear into honest citizens. Over several weeks, detectives tracked subtle leads, from abandoned hideouts to coded phone messages. At sunrise, police stormed a cramped apartment building, cornering the gang's leaders. Their arrest brought relief, renewing faith in law enforcement. Locals cheered as the suspects were led away, ending this fearful saga. Number 16. Salerno jewelry store robbery. Salerno's bustling shopping district went silent when masked thieves struck a local jewelry store. They shattered protective glass, stuffing gold chains and rare gems into black backpacks in seconds. Shoppers looked on from behind counters in shock, while alarms pierced the air. Police arrived moments later, but the criminals had already vanished into narrow side streets. Neighbors posted warnings, vowing to guard their beloved shops. The theft left a lasting memory, reminding everyone that safety could quickly vanish. Number 17. Milan bank heist by Banda del Buco. Milan was thrown into chaos when Banda del Buco struck a major bank downtown. Burrowing through underground tunnels, they bypassed the vault's alarms with cunning skill. Guards discovered the sudden break-in too late, and the thieves fled with bags of stolen cash. Swarms of police officers and forensics experts searched every corner for clues. Bank staff stood in disbelief, recalling how quickly everything happened. Authorities vowed to track down the suspects, determined to end their brazen tunnel crimes. Number 18. Palermo anti-mafia raid. Palermo woke to a sweeping anti-mafia raid at dawn. Police squads descended on hidden strongholds, armed with warrants and mission details. Suspected bosses and affiliates were pulled from shadowy corners, their secret networks exposed. Neighbors gathered on sidewalks, stunned to see familiar faces in handcuffs. Officials boasted of wiretapped meetings that led to decisive arrests. Journalists rushed to break the news, hailing justice at last. This operation struck a bold blow against organized crime, restoring hope and faith. Number 19. Tomaso Inzerillo's arrest. Tomaso Inzerillo was known to command silent respect in hidden corners of the mafia world. After months of surveillance, anti-crime officers tracked his movements across multiple safe houses. At dawn, they stormed his suburban hideout, catching him unaware. Handcuffed and stunned, Inzerillo offered no resistance, as curious neighbors watched from behind curtains. Police later uncovered illegal documents and coded records. Locals finally exhaled relief, believing a major threat had been removed. Number 20. Jewelry heist in Torino. Torino's busy commercial district turned chaotic when masked thieves rushed into a popular jewelry store. They smashed glittering display cases with heavy mallets, scooping diamonds and gold into large sacks. Alarm bells shrieked, sending startled shoppers diving for cover. The bandits sped off in a stolen car, vanishing before police arrived. Shocked witnesses recounted the swift, violent raid. Business owners tightened security, fearing copycats. Authorities vowed to stop further crimes, hoping to restore peace and reassure the city. Number 21. Conchetto Bonacorsi's arrest. Conchetto Bonacorsi was a feared figure in the city's underworld, rumored to command powerful crews. After months of secret wiretaps, investigators swooped in one early morning, raiding a quiet villa. Bonacorsi was found counting rolls of illegal cash, stunned by the sudden raid. Neighbors watched police lead him away in handcuffs. This high-profile arrest brought relief to frightened residents, convinced that his downfall would bring fresh winds of hope to their crime-weary streets. Now everyone yearned for peace. Number 22. Chaotic villa robbery in Vibo. Conchetto Bonacorsi was a feared figure in organized crime, his name whispered in back alleys. After months of watching his every move, investigators staged a late-night raid on his villa. Police burst inside, cornering him in a hidden room stacked with ill-gotten money. Neighbors peered from windows as he was led away in handcuffs. This sudden fall left many stunned, hoping it would end his reign of fear. Authorities promised a thorough investigation to bring him to trial. Number 23. Failed bank vault heist. A group of daring thieves attempted to break into a downtown bank vault after midnight. They used advanced drilling tools, hoping to cut through solid steel before security arrived. Suddenly, alarms blared, forcing them to scramble back into the dark. Bank guards, alerted by loud vibrations, closed in fast. The thieves dropped their gear and vanished, leaving behind a half-cut vault door. Investigators collected every piece of evidence today, determined to find those responsible for the botched heist. Number 24. Eurospin supermarket robbery. Eurospin shoppers were shocked when masked robbers burst in near closing time. Panic spread as they waved guns, demanding cash from the terrified clerk. Shoppers froze, clutching groceries in trembling arms. In less than 2 minutes, the criminals fled, leaving a shattered storefront and a traumatized staff. Police arrived, finding scattered purses on the floor as shaken witnesses described the swift attack. Stores in the area heightened security, hoping to prevent another bold robbery. Number 25. Thieves target a music store. Thieves targeted a local music store in the early hours, smashing its glass door to grab prized instruments. Guitars, keyboards, and amplifiers vanished within minutes, leaving broken shelves behind. Shocked owners discovered the mess at sunrise, calling police for help. Detectives arrived, gathering fragments of shattered wood and footprints. Locals feared increasing crime, worried about more late-night hits. The store launched a fundraiser to replace lost gear, hoping music would rise again. Number 26. Masked robbers burn escape bikes. Masked robbers stormed a warehouse in the dead of night, stealing high-value goods. Before departing, they wheeled out 3 sleek motorcycles for their getaway. Smoke filled the air when they later torched these stolen bikes along a back road, destroying all evidence. Investigators discovered melted frames and scattered tools. Locals speculated the robbers aimed to delay pursuit, leaving no tracks behind. Authorities focused on security footage, determined to identify the culprits and halt future crimes. Number 27. ATM heist in Orvietto. Orvietto woke up to chaos when thieves exploded an ATM outside a busy cafe. Shards of metal littered the street, and shaking alarms woke sleepy neighbors. The robbers scooped up cash from the wrecked machine and escaped down a winding alley. Police arrived to find smoldering sparks and rattled onlookers with trembling voices. Fear swept through the community, wondering if more heists might follow. Local officials promised tougher security, hoping to keep Orvietto safe. Number 28. Gas station destruction. The small gas station erupted in flames after masked vandals tossed makeshift bombs at night. Fuel pumps exploded, sending fiery blasts into the sky. Terrified neighbors hurried away, some calling the fire department. Smoldering debris and twisted metal were all that remained by sunrise. Investigators combed through ash and rubble, searching for clues. Locals demanded security cameras and night patrols. Many worried that such destruction would spread, threatening homes and businesses across the neighborhood. Number 29. Police Mafia standoff in Palermo. In Palermo's busy streets, a tense police mafia standoff held everyone in fear. Armed gang members barricaded a narrow alley, refusing to back down. Officers surrounded the area, pressing for surrender, as anxious residents watched from rooftops. The standstill lasted hours, broken only by loud shouting and flickering lights. Eventually, specialized units stormed in, arresting top mafia leaders and freeing hostages. Locals breathed relief, hoping this bold display of force would finally restore peace across all of Palermo forever. Number 30. Milan jewelry store chase. Milan glistened with lights when masked thieves dashed out of a prestigious jewelry store, arms brimming with stolen diamonds. Police cars roared after them, weaving through narrow streets as startled onlookers leaped aside. The chase thundered past historic buildings, sirens echoing under vaulted arches. Cornered at last, the criminals hopped off their running car but soon got tackled by swift officers. Gleaming diamonds flew from their hands onto wet pavement. Keanu Reeves had just taken a break from his busy Hollywood life.
Keanu Reeves is taking over the internet, from praise about how respectful he is when posing with fans to his Cyberpunk 2077 announcement. Everyone can't get enough of Keanu.
And decided to visit a store in Texas when a robber attacked the store. What happened next left the robber with so much regret in a way you wouldn't expect. That night, the neon sign outside Vega's market flickered, casting a dull red light on the empty parking lot. Inside, Maria Vega, the store owner, counted the money in the register while her husband cleaned the floor. It was a calm, quiet night, until it wasn't. Across the street, Jesse Morales sat in his old truck, holding the steering wheel tightly. He stared at a photo of his daughter, Sophia, on his phone. She was smiling, and it broke his heart. He'd promised to take her to a festival that weekend, but her mom's warning rang in his ears. No child support by Friday, no visit. Jesse was broke. His mom's medical bills and low-paying jobs had left him with nothing. Desperate, he felt like he had no other choice. At 10:52 p.m., his hands shaking, he grabbed a gun from the glove compartment and hid it in his jacket. Keanu Reeves wasn't supposed to be there. Keanu needed a break that evening, so he went to Austin, a city he liked for its relaxed vibe. This evening, being an unplanned trip, he walked around downtown and ended up at Vega's market. Surrounded by its simple setting, he felt happy to just blend in and enjoy being a regular person for once. As Keanu opened the cooler door, he heard the soft chime of the store's entrance behind him. At first, he thought nothing of it. Then came the heavy stomp of boots against the tile, sharp and deliberate, breaking the stillness. A harsh voice ordered him not to move, pulling his attention like a gunshot. He turned instinctively and saw a masked man in a worn hoodie. Jesse Morales was standing by the door, clutching a revolver tightly in both hands, its muzzle pointed at Maria Vega, the store owner. Maria gasped and staggered back, her hands shaking as the bills she had been counting fluttered to the floor. She whispered a plea not to hurt them, her voice cracking with fear. Jesse barked at Maria to open the register, his voice rising in panic as he glanced between her and her husband, who stood frozen behind the counter. He insisted that nobody needed to get hurt if she complied. Keanu pressed himself against the end of a shelf, instinctively scanning the room. His heart was pounding, but his mind stayed focused. He took in the details: Jesse's ragged breathing, the trembling of his hands as he gripped the gun, and the desperation in his voice. Keanu could tell that this wasn't someone seeking a fight or a thrill. Jesse then turned his gaze to Keanu, aiming the revolver squarely at him and commanding him to stay where he was and not to try anything. Keanu raised his hands slowly, the gesture calm, unthreatening. "I'm not moving," he said, his voice even and composed. There was something in Keanu's tone that caused Jesse to hesitate, his focus wavering for a moment. Beneath the mask, Jesse's eyes betrayed him. They weren't full of malice or calculation. They were wide, frantic, and glossed with fear. Keanu recognized it instantly. This wasn't a criminal hardened by violence. This was someone on the edge of breaking. The weight of it all, the gun, the store, the terrified faces staring back at him, seemed too much for Jesse to bear. One would have expected Keanu to spring into action like in his movies, to move with the precision and speed of a trained fighter. But he knew this was real life, not a script. In real life, the solution wasn't about heroics or bravado. There was no flashy fight sequence or high-octane chase waiting to happen. "Just open the register," Jesse repeated, though his voice had softened, almost pleading now. Maria fumbled with the keys, her hands trembling as she tried to unlock the till. Her husband moved slowly, raising his hands higher, his face pale. Keanu remained motionless, his sharp gaze fixed on Jesse. Every fiber of his being screamed to intervene, but he knew this moment required more than strength or speed. It needed understanding. He had to figure out how to reach the man behind the mask before the tension in the room snapped and someone got hurt. "You don't have to do this," Keanu said softly, his voice steady despite the storm brewing around him. "Shut up!" Jesse snapped, though the fear in his voice was unmistakable. The gun wavered slightly in his grip, and a bead of sweat rolled down the side of his face. Keanu stayed silent, letting Jesse's words hang in the air, letting him wrestle with his own growing panic. He could feel the fragile thread holding this moment together, and he knew it was close to breaking. Maria's trembling hands hovered over the register keys as she struggled to punch in the code. The small market at the outskirts of Austin had been her and Eduardo's livelihood for the past 15 years, their American dream etched into every jar of salsa on the shelves. Eduardo stood behind her like a statue, stoic as always in the face of any busted freezer or late delivery. His lips moved soundlessly, saying some prayer. Between them, Jesse's shallow breathing was getting louder by the second. His hand shook on the gun, wobbling the muzzle before jerkily raising toward them again in indecision. He was no man in command. He was a man falling apart. Keanu, still pressed against the shelf at the far end of the store, assessed the scene with the calm precision honed by years of navigating pressure both on-screen and off. He'd seen desperation before, on the streets of Toronto as a young man, when he lived paycheck to paycheck, and later, in the faces of fans who confided their struggles in him as though he were an old friend. Jesse's panic wasn't new to him. The trembling hands, the frantic tone, the wild, darting eyes. This was a man cornered by life, holding onto the gun as his last lifeline. "You don't want to do this," Keanu said, his voice cutting through the oppressive silence like the strike of a match in a dark room. Jesse spun around, aiming the gun at Keanu as Maria let out a muffled cry, dropping her keys. He barked at her to shut up, his trembling voice betraying his fear. Keanu raised his hands, calm and steady, trying to diffuse the tension. Speaking gently, he told Jesse he understood, that it might feel like there was no way out, but this wasn't control. It was chaos. Jesse hesitated, his grip on the gun loosening as he glanced between Keanu and the terrified couple. Breathing heavily, he demanded to know what Keanu could possibly understand. Taking a step forward, Keanu assured him he did, sharing how loss and hopelessness could overwhelm, but warning that this path would only make things worse. For a moment, Jesse faltered. The revolver grew heavy in his hand as Maria's sobs and Eduardo's pleading eyes broke through. "What else am I supposed to do?" Jesse whispered, the question carrying the despair of a man who no longer had answers. Keanu took another measured step forward, his presence solid and unshakable. "We figure it out. Together." The tension in the room felt like a live wire, sparking and unpredictable, as Jesse stood on the precipice of a decision that would define him forever. The room hung in fragile silence, as though holding its breath. Everyone watched Jesse as his next decision could shatter everything, or it could save them all. Jesse's resolve began to crack under the weight of Keanu's words. "You don't understand," he muttered, his voice breaking. "I'm not a bad person. I need the money. My little girl." Keanu nodded, his expression softening. "Then think about her. Right now, she sees you as her hero. Is this what you want her to remember?" The words hit Jesse like a punch to the gut. His hands trembled violently, and the gun slipped slightly in his grasp. But before he could decide what to do, the door swung open again. A man came in with his daughter. He froze, taking in the scene. "What the hell's going on here?" he demanded. Jesse panicked, his finger hovering dangerously close to the trigger. The man quickly ran away with his daughter. Jesse's panic surged like a tidal wave, his thoughts a chaotic blur as he stumbled backward. In his desperation to retreat, he knocked into a shelf, sending cans and boxes cascading to the floor with a deafening clatter. The noise shattered the fragile calm of the room. Maria screamed, instinctively ducking behind the counter, while Eduardo seized the opportunity to lunge for the landline phone mounted on the wall. "Don't!" Jesse yelled, whipping the gun toward Eduardo. His finger hovered dangerously close to the trigger, his breath shallow and uneven. But something in his eyes betrayed him. Not malice, but terror, as if he were watching himself unravel and powerless to stop it. Keanu saw the shift and acted, stepping into the space between Jesse and the couple. His hands remained raised, his voice unwavering as he spoke. "Jesse." The name landed like a lifeline in the chaos, freezing Jesse in place. Keanu continued, his tone low and steady, each word precise and deliberate. "This is your moment to choose, right here, right now. Not tomorrow, not later, now." Jesse blinked, startled to hear his name, his chest heaving as tears began to blur his vision. Keanu took another cautious step forward, keeping his gaze locked on Jesse's. "Put the gun down," Keanu urged, his voice softer now. "You don't have to let this define you. Think about her, your daughter. What does she need to see when she looks at you? A man who made a mistake, or a man who chose to be better?" The mention of Sophia hit Jesse like a punch to the gut. His resolve began to crumble, the weight of the gun unbearable in his shaking hand. Behind him, the market door swung open, the jingle of the bell drowned out by heavy boots. A man in a cowboy hat, likely one of the armed locals, had entered, his own pistol drawn. The cowboy barked, "Drop it now!" Jesse's knees buckled. Tears streamed down his face as he loosened his grip, the revolver clattering to the floor. The cowboy rushed forward, keeping his weapon trained on Jesse, ensuring he didn't move. Moments later, flashing blue and red lights bathed the store, and two officers stormed in, their commands sharp and practiced. As the officers cuffed him, Jesse's body slumped forward, his head hanging low. Shame coursed through him, mingling with relief that the ordeal was over. But as he was led toward the door, he stopped and turned to Keanu, his tear-streaked face a mask of anguish and confusion. Why did you stop me?" Jesse's voice cracked, the question loaded with pain and disbelief. Keanu paused, his dark eyes meeting Jesse's with a look of quiet understanding. He hesitated for a moment, as if searching for the right words, and then spoke with a gravity that cut through the noise of the scene. "Because I've made mistakes too," he said simply. "But it's never too late to turn around." The officers pulled Jesse toward the squad car, but those words stayed with him, echoing in his mind as the weight of what he'd done and what he hadn't done settled in.